I just want to jump straight into my PSP talk because I came up with an idea. Like I said, I watched a lot of videos about the
Right.
PSP, and what I learned was the PSP failed because, well, the PS Vita failed. The PSP did really well. The PS Vita, which was the, essentially the PSP 2, the reason it failed is because, first and foremost, PlayStation, in an attempt to be greedy and make money, and I think I told you about this last time we met in person, was instead of using SD cards for storage, they used their own proprietary chips, which
Right. I
were
remember
more
that.
expensive than SD cards, and therefore a lot of people just couldn't afford it, and therefore
Yeah.
didn't buy it, and it didn't sell very well in America. So America just straight up stopped advertising it. But in Japan,
Oh,
they
wow.
kept advertising it and kept supporting it. So it actually sold really well in Japan, but it didn't in America, and therefore it just didn't do great overall because
Hmm.
because like a good chunk of its market just didn't care because they stopped advertising to that chunk of that market. Um,
Right.
so it didn't do very well. But the reality is, if they didn't give up on their handheld, they were making, they were doing stuff that the Nintendo Switch is doing now. That if they kept pushing forward and instead just made a new version of it that used SD cards, they probably would be neck and neck with Switch in terms of the handheld game right now if they didn't just give up
Oh,
on it.
wow.
Because this happened around like, it was like just before the PS4 came out, 2013, that they gave up. So this, it really, now that I'm thinking about it, it's 10 years ago. Still, it was a bop ago, but it
Hmm.
relatively, it wasn't that long ago. So they could have been neck and neck with Nintendo, and I think they can come back. And here's how. We have like the Steam Deck and other PC technology people making their own little versions of the Switch, and the Steam Deck is doing relatively well for people who like playing PC games and want to play them on the go. And
Hmm.
it gives you the ability to play these very demanding games on small hardware, which kind of makes
Right.
the Switch look a little stupid by comparison. But it's
Yeah.
Nintendo.
But then again, the Steam Deck is also very bulky. I think,
Yeah,
like,
it is. But the thing is, the Steam Deck is doing things that I don't think a new PSP necessarily needs to do. The Steam Deck is
okay,
trying to
fair.
get you up to like 4K. Here's what I think a PSP can do, and I wrote this in my notes because I think it's a really good idea.
Mhm.
I don't have a proper name for it because it's honestly hard making a name for the PSP because you can't call it the PSP 2 because that's technically what the PS Vita was, and maybe you could
Right.
call it PS Vita 2. I don't know. It's weird. It's gonna be hard to name.
It's strange.
So
Yeah.
the name doesn't matter. What I think is that it should be a combination of the Switch and the Xbox Series S. And the reason I think they don't want to go handheld is because they think they're afraid of what happened last time, but also they just think that it's a market that they're gonna have a hard time getting back into because Nintendo's dominating it. But I think the way they get into it is that they market it like not only is it a handheld, but it's also a cheaper alternative to a PS5.
Right.
Or maybe if this were to come out around a PS6, a cheaper alternative to a PS6.
Yeah.
So the Xbox Series S is an all digital Xbox. It's way smaller than the Xbox Series X, which you know what they look like. The Xbox Series X is like a fridge.
Hmm.
Whereas Xbox Series S, if you don't know what it looks like, you can look it up. It's much smaller. It's like way smaller because it doesn't have the disk drive in it. Not only it's not just smaller because it doesn't have the disk drive in it. It's smaller because it's not as powerful because it doesn't have 4K. It only goes up to 1440p.
Right.
What I think they should do with their handheld is on a handheld device, you don't need anything in reality more than 1080p. But I think they should do 1440p as their max graphics, both handheld and docked, because I think this should be docked and essentially docked. It should function like a like I said, a cheaper alternative to the PS5, to where you can play it fully functional docked. It's more powerful docked, and you still only get, or maybe even it's 1080 docked, 1080 handheld and 1440p docked specifically, and it's essentially just sold as this isn't just a handheld. This is like a several. Maybe I'm thinking maybe it could be priced around $250. Maybe that's too low. But like $250, I think would be a good price to have people see it and go, oh, I can get for $250, I can get something that I can carry around with me and also play on my screen at home like it's a regular PlayStation. That would be incredible. I think that is the
Yeah.
way that PlayStation can sell a handheld, is by essentially treating it as this isn't just something you can play on the go. This is also straight up just a cheaper, slightly less powerful PS5 that does similar things to the Switch do. Because the reality is, PlayStation actually did the whole dock your handheld and plug it into your screen before Nintendo did. Like I said,
Right.
if they kept with it, they could have beat Nintendo to the punch. And now that Nintendo has already done it, and they know that people are into that type of thing, and there are some people out there who just can't afford a PlayStation because it's like $500. or like $450 right now. They could get this cheaper version that's $250, maybe $300, but I'm thinking like $250 would be the perfect price. And you can play PS5 games on it, but it would be all digital. You wouldn't be able to play games physically on it. That would be the trade off. It would be all digital.
Right.
It would be a handheld. You don't get 4K, but you do get 1440p, which is still incredible in terms of visuals.
Right.
And like I said, Xbox already has their thing that is only 1440p that a lot of people bought and love, and it's all digital. So PlayStation can have both. They can jump into the same market as both Xbox and Nintendo by having a cheaper, less powerful version of their console that's also handheld. I think that would be incredible. PlayStation, hire me.
Agreed.
And I think then you would be able to get one, and you'd be able to play some PlayStation games.
Yes, finally.
But yeah, I think that would be a good idea. I might post it on Twitter, see if somebody sees it and does something. Because I think that's a neat idea.